Have you ever wondered why some people seem to walk into rooms and doors begin to open before they even knock? You look at them and say, "What is it about that person?" They are not louder than everybody. They are not always more educated than everybody. They may not have more money, more connections, or more opportunities. But somehow, favor seems to meet them before they arrive. Doors open. Conversations shift. Decisions turn in their direction. My friend, that is not luck. That is not personality. That is not charm. That is not coincidence. That is the evidence of divine alignment. Let me tell you something. Favor is not random. Favor is not an accident looking for somebody to bless. Favor has an address. Favor has an atmosphere. Favor has a spiritual environment where it rests. And when a man or a woman learns how to align their life with God early, before the world begins to pull on them, they begin to walk under a rhythm that confusion cannot control. Did you catch that? Favor follows alignment. And alignment begins with what you give first place. Now, here is the truth. Your morning is not just a time of day. Your morning is the first gate. It is the first altar. It is the first decision. It is the first atmosphere. Before the meetings, before the phone calls, before the traffic, before the pressure, before the news, before the opinions of people, there is a sacred moment when your spirit is open, your mind is fresh, and your day is still waiting for instruction. That moment is spiritual gold. The first moments of the morning do not merely start your day. They direct the spiritual rhythm of your destiny. Every morning, something is asking for your attention. The phone is asking. The world is asking. Your worries are asking. Your unfinished business is asking. Your fears are asking. Your memories are asking. And if you do not decide who gets the first place, the loudest thing will take it. That is why many people do not begin their day. They are captured by it. They wake up and immediately enter reaction. They check messages. They absorb bad news. They remember problems. They start rushing. They start complaining. And then they wonder why the day feels heavy before it has even begun. But there is another kind of morning, a morning that begins with God, a morning that begins with order, a morning that begins with purpose. Before you speak to people, you speak to God. Before you rehearse your problems, you remember His promises. Before you move into activity, you submit your steps to divine wisdom. That kind of morning does not mean every problem disappears. No, it means you enter the day governed by peace instead of panic, by faith instead of fear, by purpose instead of pressure. You see, the morning is like a gate. Whatever you allow through the gate first often determines what governs the territory. If anxiety enters first, anxiety begins to rule. If offense enters first, offense begins to speak. If confusion enters first, confusion begins to arrange your thoughts. But if God enters first, order enters. If worship enters first, peace enters. If faith enters first, strength enters. That is why the first gate must be guarded. And this is what I want to show you. There are 3 simple, powerful disciplines you can practice every morning that train your day to move under favor instead of confusion. They are not complicated. They are not religious performance. They are divine order. You seek, you speak, you move. You seek God before the world seeks you. You speak life before circumstances speak fear. And you move with purpose before delay becomes a habit. Prayer opens the day. Declaration sets the atmosphere. Purposeful action gives faith something to walk on. Now, stay with me prayerfully, because this is not just another message. This is a call to rebuild the gate of your morning. And if this is helping you return your mornings to God's order, subscribe, stay connected, and let this teaching become part of your daily rhythm. And right there, before we go deeper, write these words. I choose alignment before activity. Say it until your spirit hears it. I choose alignment before activity. Because when you give God the first place, you give favor a place to rest. Now, let us diagnose something, because many people are praying for favor while practicing disorder. They are asking God, Lord, bless my day, but they have already given the first moments of that day to distraction. They say, Lord, guide me, but the first voice they listened to was not the voice of God. It was the voice of anxiety, the voice of social media, the voice of unfinished problems, the voice of somebody else's opinion. They say, Lord, give me peace, but they begin the morning complaining. They say, Lord, open doors, but they begin the day in hurry, confusion, and emotional noise. My friend, you cannot ask God to order what you keep surrendering to disorder. You cannot keep planting confusion in the morning and expect to harvest clarity by noon. You cannot keep feeding your mind fear and expect your spirit to walk in faith. But here is the truth. God does not bless confusion. He blesses alignment. God does not rest on chaos. He rests on order. From the beginning, when God created the world, He brought order out of darkness, form out of emptiness, light out of confusion. Divine favor has always been connected to divine order. That is why the enemy does not always need to destroy you. Sometimes all he needs to do is disorder you. Did you catch that? If he can disorder your first thought, he can influence your attitude. If he can disorder your first word, he can poison your atmosphere. If he can disorder your first movement, he can bend the direction of your day. He does not need to stop your destiny if he can keep you reacting instead of discerning, rushing instead of listening, complaining instead of declaring, scrolling instead of seeking. Think about how many mornings begin. The eyes open, and before the heart says, "Thank you," the hand reaches for the phone. Before the mind is anchored in truth, it is flooded with headlines, messages, images, arguments, emergencies, comparisons. Before the spirit is strengthened, the soul is already carrying pressure. Then anxiety begins to speak. Frustration begins to rise. The mouth begins to rehearse what is wrong. I am tired. I am behind. This day is going to be hard. I do not know how I will make it. And without realizing it, the day has received instruction. Let me tell you something. Your morning trains your soul. If you train your soul to respond to pressure first, pressure will become your master. If you train your soul to respond to fear first, fear will become your language. If you train your soul to respond to hurry first, hurry will become your rhythm. But if you train your soul to seek God first, purpose becomes your compass, peace becomes your governor, faith becomes your atmosphere, favor has a place to rest. Jesus said in Matthew 6:33, "Seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you." Notice that word first. He did not say, "Seek God when you have time left." He did not say, "Seek God after the worry has exhausted you." He did not say, "Seek God after the world has already shaped your mood." He said, "First." And seeking first the kingdom is not only a Sunday principle,
It is a morning principle. It is a daily principle. It is a before the phone principle. It is a before the meeting principle. It is a before the pressure principle. Every day is a blank canvas handed to you by mercy. When you wake up, the canvas is clean. The day has not yet been painted, but the first color matters.
If the first color is fear, fear begins to shade everything else. If the first color is offense, offense begins to stain your conversations. If the first color is complaint, complaint begins to darken your decisions. But if the first color is faith, the whole day begins to carry divine perspective. If the first color is gratitude, the day begins to open under grace. If the first color is worship, the atmosphere changes before the circumstances do. That is why a disordered morning gives the day permission to become chaotic, but an ordered morning gives favor a place to rest. Order does not mean your schedule is perfect. Order means your priority is right. Order means God gets the first attention. Order means truth speaks before fear speaks. Order means purpose moves before panic moves. And when your morning comes into alignment, your spirit stands up before your problems do. Your peace arrives before the pressure does. Your faith takes its position before confusion knocks at the door. Now, if order is the place where favor rests, then you must understand the sequence of that order. Heaven is not confused. God does not move randomly. There is a divine rhythm to the favored life, and every morning you have an opportunity to step back into that rhythm before the world pulls you out of it. Here it is. Seek, speak, move. Say that in your spirit. Seek, speak, move. You seek God first. You speak what God says. Then you move with purposeful obedience. That is the sequence. That is the pattern. That is the morning alignment that turns favor from an idea into a practical, daily experience. My friend, these are not religious rituals. This is not about performing for God. This is not about proving how spiritual you are. These are spiritual laws of alignment. Presence, confession, action. First, you enter His presence so your heart can be corrected. Then you govern your confession so your atmosphere can be ordered. Then you move in obedience so your faith has direction. Did you catch that? The heart must be aligned, the mouth must be governed, and the body must obey. Many people want favor, but they only wish for it. They hope for it. They talk about it. They admire it in other people. But favor is not attracted by wishing. Favor is attracted by alignment repeated daily. You cannot simply desire a favored day. You must establish a favored order. You cannot merely hope that peace will find you. You must give peace a doorway. You cannot merely pray for clarity after confusion has taken over. You must begin where clarity is born. Prayer opens the door. Declaration fills the atmosphere. Purposeful movement walks through the door. That is the divine sequence. Prayer without declaration can leave your mouth repeating fear. Declaration without movement can become empty sound. Movement without prayer can become anxiety in motion. But when prayer, declaration, and purposeful action come into agreement, your morning becomes a place of authority. First, you seek, because your heart needs God's presence before it needs human opinion. Then you speak, because your mouth must not be left open for fear to use. Then you move, because obedience is faith with feet. This is how favor becomes practical. This is how the unseen begins to govern the seen. This is how the morning becomes more than a routine. It becomes a spiritual launch. And now we must begin with the first discipline, because the first discipline must happen before the day starts speaking to you, before the phone speaks, before the bills speak, before the schedule speaks, before the problem speaks. You must seek God before the world seeks you. Before you speak to people, speak to God. Before you answer the message, answer the invitation of heaven. Before you enter the meeting, enter His presence. Before you carry responsibilities, carry your heart before the Father. Before you rehearse the problem, remember the promise. This is the first discipline of a favored morning. Seek God before the world seeks you. My friend, the world is always seeking you. Your phone seeks you. Your schedule seeks you. Your family seeks you. Your work seeks you. Your responsibilities seek you. Your problems seek you. Even your fears seek you. They are standing at the gate of your morning, waiting for permission to come in and take control. And if you do not decide that God gets the first audience, something else will take the first seat. Something else will shape your emotions. Something else will arrange your thoughts. Something else will govern your day. But here is the truth. The person who gives God the first attention of the morning receives heaven's order before the world applies its pressure. Did you catch that? Heaven's order must come before the world's pressure. Because once pressure becomes your first teacher, your day becomes a reaction. But when presence becomes your first atmosphere, your day becomes governed. Look at Jesus. The Son of God Himself understood this principle. The Bible says in Mark 1:35 that very early in the morning, while it was still dark, Jesus got up, went out to a solitary place, and prayed. Now think about that. Jesus had crowds waiting for Him. Needs were waiting for Him. Demons were waiting to be cast out. Sick bodies were waiting to be healed. Questions were waiting to be answered. Opposition was waiting to confront Him. But before He stood before the crowd, He stood before the Father. Before He released public power, He received private alignment. That is a law. Public power is sustained by private alignment. Many people want public success without private order. They want visible favor without hidden discipline. They want doors to open, people to listen, opportunities to appear, influence to increase, but they have no private altar. Let me tell you something. What you do in secret determines what you can carry in public. Jesus did not begin with the crowd. He began with the Father. He did not let demand become His director. He let communion become His compass. And seeking God first is not about length, it is about priority. Do not let the enemy condemn you because you did not spend 2 hours in prayer before sunrise. Start with surrender. Start with priority. Start with the first place. 5 surrendered minutes with God can reorder an entire day. 5 minutes of true attention can silence an hour of anxiety. 5 minutes of gratitude can shift the atmosphere of your mind. 5 minutes of saying, "Lord, I belong to you today," can put your soul back under divine government. Before your feet touch the floor, let your spirit reach toward God. Before your hand reaches for the phone, let your heart reach for His presence. Say, "Lord, thank you for this day. Order my steps. Govern my thoughts. Make me aware of your purpose." Say it slowly. Say it with faith. Say it before the news speaks. Say it before fear speaks. Say it before your calendar speaks. Lord, thank you for this day. Order my steps. Govern my thoughts. Make me aware of your purpose. That simple prayer is not small. It is a key. When you say, "Order my steps," you are surrendering your movement. When you say, "Govern my thoughts," you are surrendering your mind. When you say, "Make me aware of your purpose," you are refusing to live accidentally. You are telling God, "I do not want to merely survive this day. I want to represent you in it." Psalm 5:3 says, "In the morning, Lord, you hear my voice. In the morning I lay my requests before you and wait expectantly." Notice the pattern. In the morning. Not after panic has built a house in your chest. Not after confusion has already scattered your thoughts. Not after the day has beaten your spirit down. In the morning. You hear my voice. That means the first voice lifted must not be complaint. It must not be fear. It must not be anger. It must be the voice of a soul arranging itself before God. The psalmist says, "I lay my requests before you." That means I do not carry them first. I lay them down first. I do not let them become my burden before they become my prayer. I do not let them become my anxiety before they become my offering. I place the day before God, and then I wait expectantly, not nervously, not helplessly, expectantly. Because a day placed before God is not an abandoned day. It is a submitted day. Now listen carefully. If you start with pressure, pressure becomes your master. If you start with presence, peace becomes your government. Pressure will tell you, "Hurry." Presence will tell you, "Trust." Pressure will tell you, "You are behind." Presence will tell you, "Your steps are ordered." Pressure will tell you, "You cannot handle this." Presence will tell you, "His grace is sufficient." Pressure will scatter you. Presence will gather you. Pressure will make you react. Presence will teach you to respond. I knew of a person who used to wake up every morning with anxiety already waiting. Before the day began, the heart was racing. Before breakfast, the mind was already carrying 10 imaginary disasters. The phone was the first altar. Messages were the first sermon. Problems were the first conversation. And the result was predictable. Panic in the morning, confusion in the afternoon, exhaustion at night. But one day this person made a decision. Nothing dramatic, nothing religious for people to applaud. Just a small corner. A chair, a Bible, a notebook, and a few quiet minutes before the world entered. Every morning, before checking the phone, they sat in that corner and said, "Lord, I give you this day." Some mornings there were many words. Some mornings there were tears. Some mornings there was only silence. But the first place belonged to God. And over time, something changed. The circumstances did not all disappear. The responsibilities did not vanish. The challenges did not evaporate. But peace replaced panic. Clarity replaced confusion. Strength replaced dread. The same day that used to feel like an enemy began to feel like an assignment. Why? Because the morning gate was guarded. God became the first audience, and when God becomes the first audience of your day, He can make you His representative in every room. That is powerful. When you seek God first, you are not escaping life. You are preparing to enter life correctly. You are saying, "Father, before I represent my emotions, I want to represent your kingdom. Before I answer people, I want to hear you. Before I make decisions, I want wisdom. Before I carry pressure, I want peace. And when you make God your first audience, He gives you the grace to walk into rooms with another spirit. You may enter the same workplace, but you enter differently. You may face the same conversation, but you speak differently. You may carry the same responsibility, but you stand differently. Because something happened before anybody saw you. Your heart bowed. Your spirit listened. Your mind was ordered. Your day was placed before the Lord. So tomorrow morning, do not wait for the world to seek you before you seek God. Do not let the first voice be a notification. Do not let the first thought be a worry. Do not let the first movement be panic. Before your feet touch the floor, turn your attention toward heaven and say, Lord, thank you for this day. Order my steps. Govern my thoughts. Make me aware of your purpose. This is not just a prayer. This is alignment. This is priority. This is how you give favor a place to rest. And once you have sought God, do not leave your mouth unemployed. Because seeking God aligns the heart, but speaking faith governs the atmosphere. Prayer brings your spirit into agreement with heaven, but your words begin to train your day in the direction of that agreement. Did you catch that? It is possible to pray with your heart and then cancel the atmosphere with your mouth. It is possible to say, Lord, I trust you, and then 10 minutes later say, nothing ever works for me. It is possible to ask God for strength and then announce weakness over your own soul before the day has even begun. My friend, your words are not empty morning sounds. They are not just expressions. They are not just emotional noise. Words are seeds. Words are instructions. Words are spiritual signals. The Bible says in Proverbs 18:21, death and life are in the power of the tongue. Notice what it says. It does not say, death and life are in the suggestion of the tongue. It does not say, death and life are in the feeling of the tongue. It says, power. That means your tongue carries authority. Your mouth is not a decoration on your face. Your mouth is an instrument of government. Now think about this. Every morning, your mouth becomes the garden of your day. When you speak, you are planting. When you complain, you are planting. When you declare faith, you are planting. When you rehearse fear, you are planting. And time is the soil that receives the seed. Some people wake up and the first seeds they plant are seeds of defeat. I am tired. This day is going to be hard. I cannot handle this. Nothing ever works. I already know this will be stressful. And then they are surprised when their emotions begin to obey the seeds they planted. Let me tell you something. Your soul listens to your mouth. Your atmosphere listens to your mouth. Your decisions are influenced by your mouth. When you keep announcing weakness, your strength begins to bow. When you keep announcing fear, your courage begins to hide. When you keep announcing confusion, your mind begins to scatter. That is why you must speak life before circumstances speak fear. Because circumstances will speak. The bill will speak. The deadline will speak. The diagnosis will speak. The difficult person will speak. The memory of yesterday will speak. But the question is, whose voice will get authority first? Some people say, well, I just do not say anything in the morning. But silence is not always golden. Sometimes silence is dangerous, because if you are silent while fear is preaching, fear becomes the only voice in the room. If you are silent while anxiety is explaining your future, anxiety becomes your prophet. If you are silent while discouragement is telling you who you are, discouragement becomes your teacher. There are moments when you must open your mouth and answer fear with faith. You must answer pressure with promise. You must answer confusion with truth. Before your circumstances say, "You will not make it," you say, "I walk in divine favor today." Before your schedule says, "You are overwhelmed," you say, "My steps are ordered by the Lord." Before uncertainty says, "You do not know what to do," you say, "Wisdom is available to me." Before fear says, "You should panic," you say, "I will not be governed by fear." Before mediocrity says, "Just get through it," you say, "My work will carry excellence and purpose." Say it in the morning. Say it with conviction. Say it until your spirit stands up. And do not think this is strange. God Himself introduced creation through speech. In Genesis, God said, "Let there be light," and light came. He did not think light into existence. He spoke. Jesus stood before storms and spoke peace. He stood before sickness and spoke healing. He stood before dead things and spoke life. Words are divine tools for creation. Now, you are not God, but you are made in the image of God. That means your words are not meaningless. When your words agree with God's word, your mouth participates in divine order. This is why declarations are not denial of reality. No, faith is not pretending the problem is not there. Faith is agreeing with a higher reality while standing in the presence of a lower one. When you say, "I walk in divine favor," you are not saying there will be no opposition. You are saying opposition is not your Lord. When you say, "My steps are ordered," you are not saying you know every detail. You are saying, God is wiser than your confusion. When you say, "I will not be governed by fear," you are not denying that fear is present. You are refusing to give fear the throne. I remember hearing of a young man who used to begin every morning defeated before he even left his room. His first words were always negative. "I hate this job. I am always behind. Nobody sees me. I will never get ahead." He was not only describing his pain, he was rehearsing an identity. And the more he spoke defeat, the more defeat became familiar. His shoulders were heavy. His work was careless. His attitude was bitter. He expected rejection, and because he expected it, he carried himself like a rejected man. But one day he was challenged to change his confession before he tried to change his circumstances. So he began every morning with simple words. "I am not forgotten. I am favored by God. I carry excellence. I bring value. My gift will make room for me. I will serve today with wisdom and purpose." At first, he did not feel it. That is important. He did not feel it. But faith does not wait for feelings to approve truth. He kept speaking, morning after morning, week after week. And something began to shift. His posture changed. His work changed. His conversations changed. Opportunities that he had been too discouraged to see became visible. He said, "I did not just change my morning. I changed what my morning was allowed to say about me." That is powerful, because your words train your day to respond to faith instead of fear. So tomorrow morning, after you seek God, do not rise in silence while fear gives instructions.
Open your mouth. Plant the right seed. Speak over your mind. Speak over your work. Speak over your family. Speak over your decisions.
Speak over your emotions. Say, "This is the day the Lord has made. I will walk in wisdom. I will walk in peace. I will walk in favor. My steps are ordered. My mouth is governed. My heart is surrendered. My work will carry excellence and purpose." Do not let the first confession of the morning be complaint. Do not let the first announcement be defeat. Do not let your mouth become a servant of yesterday's disappointment. Your tongue has power. Life and death are waiting for permission. Choose life. Speak life. Plant life. Because when your heart has sought God and your mouth agrees with God, the atmosphere of your day begins to come under the government of faith. And now, after you have sought God and spoken life, there is one more thing you must do. You must move. Because prayer without movement can become frustration, and confession without obedience can become noise. Did you catch that? You can pray correctly, speak correctly, and still delay incorrectly. You can say the right words and still sit in the wrong place. You can declare favor and still refuse the instruction that favor is waiting to meet. My friend, favor does not only find people who wait. Favor meets people who walk. There is a time to wait on the Lord, yes. But waiting on the Lord is not the same as hiding from responsibility. Waiting is not procrastination dressed in spiritual language. Waiting is not fear sitting still and calling itself wisdom. There are moments when God has already spoken, already instructed, already opened the first step, and what He is waiting for is not another prayer from you, but obedience from you. The Bible says in James 2 that faith without works is dead. Now notice that. It does not say faith without emotions is dead. It does not say faith without excitement is dead. It says faith without works. That means real faith eventually becomes visible. Real faith takes form. Real faith has movement. Real faith puts on shoes. Real faith makes a call. Real faith writes the plan. Real faith shows up early. Real faith forgives the person. Real faith cleans the room. Real faith finishes the assignment. Real faith does the first right thing before delay becomes a habit. Let me tell you something. Delay is not harmless when it becomes a lifestyle. Delay trains the mind to distrust purpose. Delay teaches the body to resist discipline. Delay gives fear time to build arguments against obedience. The longer you postpone the first right action, the heavier that action begins to feel. But the moment you move with purpose, something breaks. The first completed act of obedience in the morning sends a signal to your mind. Purpose is in charge today, not laziness, not fear, not confusion, not yesterday's disappointment. Purpose is in charge. This is why the morning is so powerful. The morning gives you a chance to establish movement before excuses gather strength. Before the day becomes crowded, choose one priority. Before pressure starts shouting, choose one act of excellence. Before distraction multiplies, choose one act of obedience. Just one. Do not overcomplicate it. One priority. One act of excellence. One act of obedience. That is how disciplined action begins to agree with prayer and declaration. You prayed, "Lord, order my steps." Then take the step He has ordered. You declared, "My work will carry excellence." Then do the work with excellence. You said, I walk in divine favor. Then walk. Do not lie in bed declaring movement while your assignment waits untouched. Do not speak about open doors while refusing to knock on the one in front of you. Do not ask God to bless the plan you have not written, the call you have not made, the gift you have not developed, the responsibility you keep avoiding. Think about Israel standing before the Red Sea. Behind them was Pharaoh's army. In front of them was water. Around them was fear. And the people began to panic. But God gave Moses an instruction. Tell the children of Israel to go forward. Notice this. The sea had not fully opened when the instruction came. The pathway was not visible in the natural when God commanded movement. He did not say, "Stand here until everything looks safe." He said, "Go forward." That is a law of faith. Sometimes the sea opens as you move, not before you move. Some people want the full path before they take the first step. They want all the details. They want every risk removed. They want every person to approve. They want every emotion to feel ready. But if you wait until fear agrees with faith, you may wait forever. Faith does not need fear's permission. Obedience does not require perfect comfort. The instruction is enough. Go forward. Now, purposeful movement does not always mean something dramatic. Sometimes we think obedience must be loud to be powerful. No. Sometimes obedience is very simple. It is making the phone call you keep postponing. It is writing the first page. It is opening the notebook. It is apologizing. It is forgiving. It is putting your house in order. It is preparing your clothes the night before. It is arriving early instead of rushing late. It is sending the proposal. It is studying the lesson. It is refusing to begin the day in laziness when God has given you an assignment. Favor often hides inside responsibility, and responsibility often begins with the next disciplined step. Many people miss favor because it arrives wearing work clothes. They expected favor to look like a miracle, but it looked like a task. They expected favor to sound like applause, but it sounded like instruction. They expected favor to feel easy, but it required discipline. My friend, do not despise the small instruction. The small instruction may be the doorway to the large opportunity. I knew of someone who prayed for opportunity every morning. Lord, open a door. Lord, send the right people. Lord, increase my influence. But while praying for opportunity, this person kept ignoring the small instruction already in the heart. Prepare the proposal, organize the idea, call the mentor, finish the unfinished work. Every day the prayer went up, but the obedience stayed down, and frustration grew. Why is nothing changing? But the problem was not that God had not answered. The problem was that the answer was waiting inside an instruction. One morning, the person finally moved. No dramatic feeling, no lightning, no crowd, just obedience. The plan was written. The call was made. The workspace was cleaned. The unfinished task was completed with excellence. And within weeks, conversations changed. Doors began to open. People began to notice, not because luck arrived, but because alignment became visible. The person said, "I was waiting for God to move, but God was waiting for me to obey what He had already said." That is powerful, because the morning becomes powerful when prayer, declaration, and disciplined action agree with the purpose of God. Prayer says, "God, I trust you." Declaration says, "My atmosphere agrees with you."
Action says, "My body obeys you." When those three come together, you are no longer just wishing for a favored day. You are walking in divine order. So tomorrow morning, after you seek God and speak life, choose one thing and move. Do not give delay the first victory. Do not give procrastination the first seat. Do not let hesitation become the rhythm of your destiny. Ask yourself, what is the first right thing? Then do it. Not everything. The first right thing. Make the call. Write the plan. Clean the space. Forgive the person. Prepare with excellence. Take the step. Move forward. Favor meets movement. Purpose honors discipline. Heaven responds to obedience. And when your morning begins with presence, your mouth speaks faith, and your body moves with purpose. Your day comes under divine alignment. That is where favor rests. That is where strength rises.
That is where destiny begins to take shape, not in vague desire, but in obedient steps taken before delay becomes a habit. But now let me take you deeper, because doing these three things one morning is good, but doing them every morning is transformation. Anybody can be spiritual for one day. Anybody can pray when the pressure is heavy. Anybody can declare faith when they are inspired. Anybody can move with purpose when the emotion is high. But destiny is not shaped by occasional inspiration. Destiny is shaped by repeated alignment. Did you catch that? One morning can bring relief, but repeated mornings build rule. One morning can calm your emotions, but repeated mornings govern your soul. One morning can interrupt confusion, but repeated mornings establish order. Favor becomes a lifestyle when morning alignment stops being occasional and becomes the governing rhythm of your life. My friend, many people want consistent favor with inconsistent habits. They want God to show up every day, but they only seek Him when life becomes unbearable. They want wisdom in every decision, but they only ask for wisdom after confusion has already cost them peace. They want peace to guard their heart, but they keep giving the first gate of the day to noise, fear, hurry, and distraction. Let me tell you something. God is not an emergency contact. He is the source. He is not the number you call only when everything else fails. He is the wisdom you seek before anything else begins. Some people treat God like a spare tire. They keep Him in the trunk of their lives until something breaks down. But the kingdom does not operate that way. God is not interested in being your last option. He is the Alpha. He is the beginning. He is the first. And when you put Him first consistently, something begins to happen inside you, not just around you, inside you. Your thoughts become clearer. Your emotions become steadier. Your decisions become cleaner. Your identity becomes stronger. You stop living as a victim of the day and start living as a steward of the day. Look at Daniel. Daniel did not become powerful in public by accident. His favor before kings was connected to his discipline before God. The Bible shows us that Daniel prayed 3 times a day, as his custom was. Notice that phrase, as his custom was, not as his crisis was, not as his mood was, not as his convenience was, as his custom was. That means Daniel had a rhythm before he had a promotion. He had an altar before he had influence. He had consistency before he had public favor. When the decree was signed against prayer, Daniel did not suddenly decide to become spiritual. He simply continued what he had already been practicing. That is why crisis could not create his identity. It only revealed it. My friend, crisis reveals what consistency has built. When pressure came, Daniel did not panic. When laws changed, Daniel did not compromise. When lions waited, Daniel did not lose his God. Why? Because his private discipline had built spiritual authority. This is why the enemy fears consistency. He is not merely afraid of one prayer. He fears the person who becomes a house of prayer. He is not merely afraid of one declaration. He fears the person whose mouth has been trained by truth. He is not merely afraid of one act of obedience. He fears the person whose body has learned to move when God speaks. Consistent alignment produces stable identity. Consistent alignment produces clear decisions. Consistent alignment produces spiritual authority. The enemy can manipulate a confused person more easily than an ordered person. He can pressure a reactive person more easily than a governed person. He can distract a person who has no morning altar more easily than a person who has already placed the day before God. That is why your morning is not a small matter. Your morning is warfare. Your morning is government. Your morning is the place where you decide whether the day will begin with chaos or clarity, panic or purpose, reaction or dominion. Do not underestimate small disciplines. A small key can open a large door. A small seed can produce a great tree. A small rudder can turn a great ship. In the same way, a few minutes of surrendered prayer, a few words of faith, and one act of purposeful obedience can turn the direction of your entire day. But when you repeat it, when you return to it, when you make it your custom, it begins to compound. Peace compounds. Wisdom compounds. Discipline compounds. Favor compounds. One morning of prayer may bring peace. 7 mornings begin to build a pattern. 30 mornings begin to build an atmosphere. A lifetime of mornings builds a governed soul. You become the kind of person who does not have to be dragged into alignment by pain. You become the kind of person who rises with order. You become the kind of person who does not wait for fear to speak first. You become the kind of person who does not let delay take the first victory. You rise, you seek, you speak, you move. That is not religion. That is alignment. That is not routine without power. That is rhythm with purpose. Because when the morning is ordered, the soul is ordered. When the soul is ordered, decisions are ordered. When decisions are ordered, life begins to reflect divine government. Not chaos, but clarity. Not panic, but purpose. Not reaction, but dominion. So, I want to challenge you. For the next 7 mornings, guard the first moments of your day. Before you surrender your mind to the phone, seek God. Before you surrender your mouth to complaint, speak faith-filled declarations. Before you surrender your body to delay, take one purposeful action. 7 mornings. Not when you feel like it. Not only if the schedule is easy. Not only if the house is quiet. 7 mornings of presence, faith, and purpose. And I want you to make a declaration. Do not just hear this. Agree with it. If you are ready to stop living by accident and start living by alignment, say it from your heart. For the next 7 mornings, I choose presence, faith, and purpose. Write it, speak it, declare it. For the next 7 mornings, I choose presence, faith, and purpose. Because favor is not just something you visit. Favor is something you can live under when your life comes into divine order. And when morning alignment becomes your rhythm, favor stops being an occasional surprise and becomes the daily evidence that your life is governed by God. So tomorrow morning, guard the gate. Do not treat the first moments like they are empty. Do not treat the morning like it is just an alarm, a schedule, a routine, and a rush. The morning is the gate, and whatever you allow through the gate first gains influence over everything that follows.
If worry enters first, worry begins to govern. If noise enters first, noise begins to direct. If fear enters first, fear begins to interpret. But if God enters first, order enters, peace enters, wisdom enters, favor enters. Did you catch that? The gate determines the flow. A city that does not guard its gate will eventually be ruled by whatever comes through it, and a life that does not guard the morning will eventually be shaped by whatever reaches the soul first. That is why you must be intentional. Seek God before the world seeks you. Speak life before fear speaks. Move with purpose before delay takes root. Seek, speak, move. Presence, faith, purpose. Prayer, declaration, action. That is the divine rhythm of a favored morning. My friend, tomorrow morning, when your eyes open, do not reach first for the phone. Do not reach first for the news. Do not reach first for the schedule. Do not reach first for the worry that was waiting beside your bed. Reach first for His presence. Before you give your mind to messages, give your mind to God. Before you give your emotions to pressure, give your heart to God.
Before you give your mouth to complaint, give your words to God. Before you give your body to delay, give your movement to purpose. Say, Lord, this day belongs to you. Say, order my steps. Say, govern my words. Say, establish the work of my hands. Say, let my life reflect your kingdom today. Do not wait until the day is already out of control to invite God into it. Invite Him at the gate. Invite Him at the beginning. Invite Him before the noise. Invite Him before the pressure. Invite Him before fear has a chance to write the script. And wherever you are right now, let this become more than a message. Let it become a commitment. Whisper this prayer from your heart. Father, thank you for the gift of a new day. Thank you that every morning is mercy. Thank you that I am not waking up by accident, and I am not stepping into this day alone. I surrender the first moments to you. Order my steps. Govern my words. Cleanse my thoughts. Establish my work. Give me wisdom for every decision, peace for every pressure, strength for every assignment, and favor for every door you have ordained. Make me an agent of kingdom purpose today. Let my life carry your presence into every room. Let my hands serve with excellence. Let my mouth speak life. Let my heart remain aligned with you. In Jesus' name, amen. Now rise with that prayer in your spirit. You are not waking up merely to survive another day. You are waking up as a steward of purpose. You are waking up as a carrier of favor. You are waking up as a representative of God in the earth. Your morning is not small. Your words are not small. Your obedience is not small. When you guard the gate of your morning, you discipline the direction of your day, and you make room for God's favor to lead you. So for the next 7 mornings, choose presence over pressure, faith over fear, and purpose over panic. And if this is your decision, write it where your heart can see it. Comment the truth you are choosing to live by. My morning belongs to God. Declare it, believe it, live it. And if you want to keep building a life of discipline, favor, and kingdom purpose, stay connected and continue walking in this rhythm, because favor is not random. Favor follows alignment. And tomorrow morning, the gate is yours to guard.